Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to DN. For a lot of people today, owning a home feels like an impossibility. And today we're going to talk about why that's the case. So the first point is price of housing versus wages and salaries. So we've spoken about this before on the channel, but simply put, wages have not risen anywhere near the rate that house prices have risen. So that means that more and more people are locked out of housing. The people that do buy housing are paying a much greater proportion of their money, of their earnings, to secure that housing. So simply put, house prices are too high. They've risen too quickly compared to salaries and wages. Point number two, which ties in pretty closely, is something called the rent trap. Now, this is where an individual or a family gets stuck essentially renting a property. So they might want to buy a property of their own, but because of the high, and some would say extortionate levels of rent that they are paying, they're unable to save up the money for a house deposit. So as we mentioned earlier, house prices are rising. This means that deposits are rising as well, if you want to stick at the same proportion deposit. And so people get trapped renting. They might like to buy a home, but they simply cannot afford to save up whilst renting the deposit money, which would secure them their own place. Point number three I'd like to speak about today is the generational divide. So as spoken about in point number one, in previous generations, house prices were much lower when compared to a proportion of the average salary. And what that means is previous generations were able to get onto the housing ladder much easier in many regards, and in many regards at a much younger age. And this allowed previous generations to hit kind of generational milestones at a younger age, and even just starting their adulthood and giving them that sense of freedom and independence much earlier compared to today's generation, when we see a much higher percentage of young adults and individuals living with parents for a longer time, or as we've mentioned, then moving out and renting accommodation or living in shared accommodation as well. And the reason for this massive increase in house prices is due to the fact that housing has become a speculative market where people are focused primarily on making money, primarily on seeing a return on their investment in terms of rental yields, and also in terms of asset price inflation. So for a homeowner, a rise in house prices is perceived to be a good thing. I guess you can argue it is a good thing for the individual, but we need to ask bigger questions about society. And is this a good thing for our society if we're locking out young people from the housing market? And as mentioned earlier, then delaying their life milestones, delaying levels of independence, and fundamentally denying them something that should be pretty fundamental as a human being, in my opinion, to have a home, for individuals and families to have a home. But right now, housing is viewed as the speculative market for people to make money. So the reason that the prices are increasing have been outlined in the video. Guys, let me know below in the comments what you think, your thoughts on this. What do you think we should do moving forward? I would like to know. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Other than that, guys, take care. Peace. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.